Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Melt Show.
Full Melt.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to Behind the Meme, where we take a look at the meaning and the origin of your favorite memes. Today we have a look at the dab. So many viewers requested this topic, so many that it would be impossible to show all the comments. But regardless, thank you all for the suggestion. You wanted it, now you have it. Let's do it. When I first saw all the requests for the dab in my comment sections, I was a bit confused because I didn't think the dab would be considered a meme. But after some research, I discovered I was very wrong. The dab is a style of hip-hop dance that is executed when an individual drops their head into the inside of the elbow of one arm while raising the opposite arm into the air. It's kinda hard to explain the dance, but a way a lot of people seem to describe it is a gesture that is similar to a polite attempt at muffling a sneeze. Although the original inventor of the dance is largely disputed, what is agreed on is that it originated from the Atlanta hip-hop music scene sometime in 2013. To add further confusion to the origin of the dab, the creation of the name itself is disputed and unknown. Many have believed it was named after the practice of dabbing in marijuana culture. This use of dabbing refers to the consumption of highly concentrated THC, which is the compound within weed that makes people high, which itself has spawned a whole group of humorous memes. The claim that the name of the dab originated from marijuana culture was most famously made by American rapper Bow Wow.
The whole world dabbing and they don't even understand or even know what dab is. First of all, dab is a strong way to smoke marijuana, right? It's the purest form of marijuana. It's extremely strong. So the dance comes from when you smoke and you cough and the first thing you do is...
The video received heavy backlash from people within the hip-hop community after he posted it on his Facebook, many of them disputing his claims. But regardless of who created the dance or why it's named the dab, it began to spread beyond the hip-hop scene of Atlanta during 2015, when local rappers started to reference the dab in their music videos, most notably the song Look at My Dab by rap group Migos.
Look at my dab, look at my dab, look at my dab. Look at my dab.
At this point, the dab began to reach a bigger audience, but it was nowhere near the levels it would soon reach. During 2015, the dab was featured on various YouTube tutorial videos that taught people how to execute the popular dance, which all received large amounts of views, helping spread its popularity. Eventually, various media outlets started to pick up on the craze and publish articles on the topic. But the popularity of the dance would reach its highest level when it was adopted by celebrities, most notably Carolina Panthers starting quarterback Cam Newton, who had a breakout year in the NFL and would celebrate every touchdown he scored with the dab. With all the widespread attention the dance received, it was safe to say it had officially crossed into the mainstream. Everybody and their mother, and sometimes even grandmother, were partaking in the dance craze. Which brings us to its use as a meme. With it being so popular and such an easy thing to execute, many began to participate and share themselves doing so online.
Damn, hey, bitch, damn, hey, bitch, dab, 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 dab.
It quickly became a humorous joke to see those you typically wouldn't associate with the hip-hop dance doing so. So there we have it. The dab has gone from the underground Atlanta hip-hop scene to the farthest corners of the world and eventually became a meme that people enjoy sharing, all in the course of a few years. It's pretty impressive. I'll catch you guys next time.
Hair like this, and then you can dab. And then this is where you can sign a bill, and then you dab.
I want to kill myself. Yeah, me too. Damn.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
It's the Full Melt Show, a marijuana discussion about news, culture, and entertainment. TheFullMelt.com. It's your backyard. It's celebrity interviews, talks with politicos. Plus, your calls are on the air. Download the Full Melt app, free at the Apple and Android app stores. With your host, Steve Green, The Full Melt Show.
Hey, welcome to the Full Melt Show for a Wednesday. It's Hump Day. Talking today about the crazy world of dabbing. What is a dab? I think they just explained it to you if you're not familiar with what a dab is. Here's the thing, though. I mean, maybe I'm just old, maybe I'm just stupid, maybe I'm just naive, but Wendy, I never knew that the dab was a dance craze. I had no idea. Maybe I'm just white.
Oh, what? I never knew either, so maybe I'm in those same categories too.
So in the piece there, which is a video piece, it's a video YouTube piece that I borrowed for our mashup here, about dab, the dab, and if you Google dab or the dab or dab meme, you'll see some people with bongs and dab rigs and that kind of stuff, but then you'll see a lot of other people with their face in the crotch of their arm. And sometimes they've got an arm in the air because that's the technical move. That's the dance move. You do the dab, you put your face in the crotch of your arm, and you put your hand in the air. Now, I just want to say that there is, according to that source, some controversy over the origination of the term dab. And I'm just going to clear it up for you because it's not rocket science. It's clear where this came from in both popular culture and in dance and the term itself as is used by the marijuana culture, whether medical or otherwise. This came along as a medical instrument. But you're familiar with the dab, right, Wendy?
I am.
So you know what a dab is and how it works. Do you know why they call it?
I think I do.
Do you know why they call it a dab?
Why do they call it a dab?
Yeah.
I think just a dab will do you. That's probably why.
That's exactly why. All you need is a little tiny bit, man. Don't do much. Just like a rice grain size. There's enough THC in that rice grain size, dab to get an army high if they've never been there before. And so you're right. It's just a dab will do you. And that's what everybody says. Just do a dab. Don't do very much because you're just going to waste it. If you do more than a dab, it's just a waste, right? It's
right.
It's kind of like, if you got a bag of weed and you whip out the weed and you roll up a doobie and you smoke it with your friends, and then you whip out another doobie and you smoke it with your friends, and then you roll another doobie and you smoke it with your friends. At some point,
you do that like 10 more times.
At some point, you're not getting any higher. You're just getting lower on dope is what it is.
Yeah.
I borrowed that joke from Gallagher. It's from the 1970s, I think. 70s or early 80s.
Okay, no wonder I didn't recognize it.
He used that in his stand-up a lot. So, yeah, that's what he said. If you keep, he didn't understand about, people continuing to smoke weed after they're high because you're not going to get any higher. So I don't get it either. I never did. Once I achieved the status, I moved along. I didn't sit there on the ledge and continue that process. It seemed like a waste. So the term dab comes from just doing a little bit. Because if you do much more than that, you're going to fall over.
You don't need it.
Right. You're not going to need it. And chances are you're going to blow out more than you consumed in the first place, even with just a little dab. So that's where the term dab originally came from. Now, this dance move is clear where it came from. Now, I gotta hold it on hold for a second. So we're going to come back and talk about the dab. But there's a news story about the dab. And in that little video piece, there was the dab visits Washington, D.C. because I think there was an old clip of Hillary Clinton on the Ellen Show. I think it was the Ellen Show, being taught by somebody in hip-hop culture. Hip-hop culture. Listen to what I said. Oh, you know what I mean. We'll be back after this break when I get my tang untangled. You're getting the full melt.
Your pets aren't just animals, they're members of your family. That's why we are excitedly wagging our tail about our hemp-based product that caters specifically to your best friend. Hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats, and really all kinds of pets. Hemp oil drops are made from virgin, cold-pressed organic hemp oil. Our extraction process ensures the highest quality oil for your pet. With superior taste, smell, and nutrition, we hold ourselves to the highest standards, never using heat, chemicals, or preservatives in making our hemp oil products for pets. Pick up a bottle of hemp oil drops today at select retailers or online at hempwell.com. Hempwell. Hemp health for pets.
If you missed the last Full Melt Show,
you missed a lot.
There's King Tut. You know why I wanted to bring up King Tut? But they actually dug up in Russia some ancient bongs. They're like 2,400 years old.
Yes, that's fucking awesome.
They're golden.
Oh, my God. 2
ancient golden bongs found in the Arctic tundra of Russia.
They were getting high, man. Yeah.
And I guess they traced it back to the early tribes that populated, the Russian tundra. Those tribes used to war against each other, and they would get high on the opium and the cannabis before going to war. Go figure. I'm just saying, somebody was selling golden bongs. And get your golden bonds here. Golden bonds. It had to be really hard back in those days to come up with gold. Except for maybe Colombian gold.
Oh, my God.
Hey, the trade winds are blowing smoke in your face.
Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law at RudoyLaw.com. RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana and up-to-date news. That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
Wish your skin could bounce back like it used to? Neutrogena Hydro Boost Water Gel instantly quenches skin to keep it supple and hydrated day after day. With hydrating hyaluronic acid, which retains up to 1,000 times its weight in water. This refreshing water gel plumps skin cells with intense hydration and locks it in. For supple, hydrated skin that bounces back. Hydro Boost from Neutrogena. See what's possible.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. I was driving across the state on New Year's Eve to go to a New Year's Eve party for this song. Hey, you were there, Wendy. You remember this?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, she remembers this. So, welcome back to the program. It's the Full Melt Show. You can hear us here Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to call the program, chime in on what you got to think about something, 248-278-8067. 248-278-8067. Wendy, this dabbing culture thing and where I left off at the break, and by the way, let me put that on pause for a second. I want to remind everybody that towards the end of the show here, we've got David Rudoy, attorney, lined up to talk about an important case he did in Michigan on the appeals level. So this is an appellate court case involving people's ability to use medical marijuana under the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act while on probation. Now, I'm not sure how this has gone down in other states. I know a lot of other states, they've made rules about this hard in the law. Some of them, this might be still a question yet. But here in this state, it's kind of various and sundry. It depends on what judge you get as to whether or not whether they believe you've got a valid medical condition. Like, the judges aren't even necessarily just recognizing the card as being a valid reason to use medical marijuana while you're on probation. And I guess we'll find out from David if that extends into parole. Does that extend into bond coverage? Yeah, exactly. So we want to talk to him about this appeals case. I don't think it's been decided yet, but it's been argued. It was argued today. So we'll be doing that about 10 minutes to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, this dabbing thing caught my eye today simply because the first thing I saw when I woke up this morning was all the rigmarole going around Congress about, the new Congress getting sworn in and doing their thing. Like, today's the first full day for this Congress. I mean, they got sworn in yesterday at noon. So by noon today, it was their first 24 hours on the game field, so to speak. And so they were, doing their, they're not doing a lot of official stuff yet. When they've got time, they're stepping aside and doing photo opportunities for the families of the representatives that are getting sworn in and all the people that are getting sworn into their new offices. I assume this would extend beyond just congressmen or senators. It might be other offices that are being sworn into as well. Some of them, they need to renew their vow, or I don't know. So, but they're doing that, and this is mostly because it's an informal swearing in. They've already been sworn in. They're just doing this as a photo opportunity basically for families, but the press is allowed in. So they're doing because obviously the press can use these pictures too, so they just give them the opportunity to have it. It's another photo op. So these guys are putting their hands on the Bible and stuff, and Paul Ryan is getting his picture taken with one person that's being sworn in by him as the Speaker of the House. So it's obviously a House member. He's swearing him in. And there's a kid, and I think it's the kid of the guy that's the new congressman, the new House member, is holding a Bible, and he's holding it between them, and the other two are standing there, one with his hand up towards the Bible, the other with his hand on the Bible, and Paul Ryan's the one guy's got his hand in the air like he's being sworn in, and they're all looking at the camera. They're all smiling and looking at the camera. And there's a video of this as it's taking place where the kid that's holding the Bible with his other hand, so he lets go of the Bible, right? He lets go, and I think Paul Ryan, they're doing the swear-in look. Paul Ryan's holding the Bible, and he's got his hand up, and they're both got their hands up, their right hands up, and the kid in the background, where the Bible's at, the space between them, is he's in the photo op too, and as soon as the guy gets ready to go take the picture, the kid puts his hand in the cuff of his arm and holds it there. And the weird thing about it is that normally somebody who's going to sneeze or cough, their fingers wouldn't be erect. They wouldn't be pointed out straight. They'd be like curved in a natural position, like relaxed. You're just holding up your arm to cough. It's a shield, or sneeze. And so the kid puts his face in the cuff of his arm, and the cameraman pauses for a second, like he's waiting for the kid to sneeze. And you can by the way, you can watch this. This is online on YouTube. Look up Paul Ryan dab. Look it up that way, and you'll see this video. But the kid, he's got his face frozen in the crotch of his arm, and Paul Ryan's like he looks at him at the corner of his eye, and he sees he's about to sneeze. And so he looks back at him. He's like, "Are you okay?" And he puts his arm down, and he's like, "Oh yeah." And so Paul looks back at the camera, and the kid puts his hand back his face back in the crotch of his arm, and Paul looks back at him and pushes his arm down. And so then they stand there for the picture, and then afterwards there's some handshaking, and you can hear Paul Ryan tell the kid, "Oh, don't worry about it." It's not like the kid looked like he even tried to apologize, but what he was doing this dance pose, this hip-hop dance pose of the dab. And I think it's funny that this thing wormed its way in from some medical thing, from a bunch of stuff that the Republicans have traditionally been completely against. Wormed its way into a Republican-controlled House where the kid of the guy being sworn in is doing the dance dab that's mirroring the popular culture of marijuana. I just think that that's hilarious on its face, Wendy. Hello?
I'm here. I was thinking this is a lot like when the kids started wearing their pants low around behind, and they didn't realize what that was about either.
Well, I honestly, I don't think most of them do. Still, I think a lot of them still don't know where that. I mean, you know what that is, right?
I do. I believe it's a prison-related thing where it indicates availability for your sexual readiness for other prisoners.
What it is it's a in the world of dominance.
They're their bitch.
In the world of dominance, this is a submissive behavior. What it's doing is it's positioning yourself in the prison population to say, "Hey, I am not going to fight you." I mean, that's basically what it amounts to. But yeah, that's what it comes down to. I'm not going to fight you to the extent that, hey, if you want to get back there and do something, I'm not going to stop you. But this is what, when prisoners get out and they mirror this in popular culture because so many of their friends have been through the system, that the sagging pants thing is a style. It's not frightening. It's just disappointing. The thing that those kids are looking up to. I mean, this is a way of glorifying this behavior. And they don't even understand the behavior that they're actually glorifying. It's just, right now, it's just a fad because they're doing it, I want to be cool and do it too. But the thing that they're really glorifying is kind of a sad thing. It's a sad state of affairs that created that, that whole saggy pants thing. The sagging pants thing too. I mean, if you're in jail, they won't let you have a belt or a string. That's all contraband. They don't want anybody hanging themselves or trying to hurt other people with it. So there's nothing really to hold your pants up. So if you happen to be forced into having bigger pants than you could, they're going to sag, and you're going to learn to walk with them up. You're going to learn, because I don't know how those kids do it. Some of those kids are walking around. They've got their pants. You can see their pubes. You can see the little place where their junk is hanging down between their legs, and they're still walking around. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, aren't you going to trip yourself? And they'll pick up stuff, be walking, both hands full, and continue to walk like that. I'm like, oh my God. It's uncomfortable just to watch, I think.
It's not attractive either.
Well, no, it's not attractive for the various reasons that I just mentioned, unless you're, I guess, somebody that's in the youth culture that might be willing to wear their pants like that because it's kind of cool. Literally, I guess. Anyway, this dab thing is.
But did we explain what a dab was? Because I don't think we even said what a dab necessarily was and how it really works.
Well, I mean, I suppose do we need to go down to that level? I suppose we can.
I could just explain it quickly for people who don't know, because there's a lot of things that people don't know because they've never been exposed to, especially people in new medical and recreational states who haven't had access to the newest thing.
Well, I can tell you that I think as dabs became popular across the country, I think it was a place that started here. I mean, the dab thing didn't start here in Michigan. I'm just saying that the thing that, as Michiganders were learning in the medical culture about dabbing and what that was, as they figured out that there was these concentrated forms of extract from marijuana that they could do and get a bigger punch from, as the rest of the nation in that scene figured it out, Michigan was there with them. What you're saying is that there are a lot of other states that haven't figured this out, that weren't along on that ride, and that have only heard about dabs through the news as it's been related to us and our use and our exposure and our proliferation of that method.
And so this is what a dab is. You basically heat up like a titanium nail, and you take your concentrated product on a little tool, and after that nail is heated up by like a propane torch or whatever, when you dab it on top of that little nail, the medicine vaporizes, so you're not taking smoke into your lungs, but you're taking a vapor with all the medicine in it, and you do not need as much as if you were to smoke a joint or use another method.
So what it's doing is it's changing a solid into a gas, is what it's coming down to. It's so hot that oil-based substance that is the extract, because it is oil-based. So this is a lot like if you got your kitchen countertop range so hot because you had the burner on, and then you dropped a little droplet of vegetable oil on it. The first thing that would happen is it would smoke like crazy, right? Because it's vaporizing that oil. It's the same thing, except that oil has nothing in it. That oil came from a vegetable seed. This oil came from an herb containing cannabis, molecules, cannabinoids. And it's all concentrated together like there's nothing but cannabinoid concentrate there. That's all that it is. It's just an extract of the plant. So you've got some terpenes, you've got some flavonoids, but I would argue that the terpenes and the flavonoids are mostly missing from extracts as we know them today. Most extracts made with cold fluids, with the exception of perhaps CO2. I'm talking about butane and hexane and all that kind of stuff that they can make these concentrates with. As what do you call it? For crying out loud, the word's escaping me. When stuff floats in another thing.
When stuff floats in another thing, particulate?
It's soluble. Yeah, the particles are the things that are floating in the thing. What's the thing that it's floating in? It's called
the solvent.
A solvent. There we go. I couldn't think of the term. It was just escaping me. So yeah, when the liquid butane is cold, because it's cold, it's liquid. It's compressed. It's compressed, and because of that compression, it's a very cold substance. If the warmer it is, the more pressure builds. But when it's cold and contained, it's a liquid. So if you let that liquid out, it turns into a gas immediately. Like, there's no liquid's going to come out of there if you just push that button on the end of a butane thing. It's just going to come out as gas. Because as soon as that liquid hits the air, it turns into a gas. Even if it's sprayed out as a liquid, it would instantly turn to gas. But if you keep it contained where it can't be exposed to the heat of the room, say in a tube, it'll stay liquid. So they use that liquid because that cold liquid fluid acts as a solvent. And it strips all the cannabinoids off the cannabis, and then you collect it through the other end of the tube, disposing of the contents within after it's finished draining through, and then collecting that and then taking the butane out by exposing it to heat. The butane turns back to a gas again. The gas escapes. The problem is that the dabs, or the liquid substance that's left behind, it's really liquidy at first. It's cold and liquidy. It's making ice on the outside of the glass that it's in, or the container that it's in, usually glass, or a form of glass, and then ceramic. When as the gas escapes, the fluid becomes thicker. It has more viscosity to it, and it escape. At some point, it's still a gooey substance. It's still kind of fluidy, but it's gloppy. It's more like gelatin, and at that stage, it's thin, like a thin layer of gelatin. It's really gloppy, and what happens is as the gas escapes as the solid turns into a liquid. The liquid turns into a gas. We've got a call coming in. Hang on one second. Hello, you're on the Full Melt Show. Are you there?
Yeah, it's me, Pauline.
Hey, Pauline. So hang on for a second. We're talking about dabs and what a dab is. Hold on, and I'll come right back to you, okay?
All righty.
So listen to what we're talking about. So as the gas escapes, this stuff becomes thicker and thicker to the point where the gas can't escape anymore. It's still in there as a liquid or as a form of gas. It's still this solvent. It's still this butane, but it's trapped inside this thick fluid. It's too thick. It's too bubbly. It's too thick. It can't escape anymore. So in order for you to get it the rest of the way out, you got to heat it and let it sit for a while. So let it just gently heat it up so that this substance at room temperature is kind of gooey when it's still got butane in it. But at room temperature, after the butane is completely gone, it'll be a solid substance. And there are various forms of it. You got and there are ways to get these different forms. Most of it just involves playing with this final substance. Once it's been purged.
And can I say something very important?
Once it's been purged of the solvent, yes.
It is not like a regular joint. Like Cat Williams has a comedy routine about this. You cannot just smoke a joint and then just do the dab and think it's the same thing. So the nice thing about it is you can regulate how much you get, and maybe you don't have to use as much as you would for a joint.
All right,
but the difference is if you think you're used to taking in heavy smoke, which you do from a joint, and you take in a big hit like you on the dab, that's when you do the coughing, and that's how that little dab elbow, cough into your elbow thing, because everyone coughs because they're not used to that vapor being so strong.
Well, people cough when they smoke pot generally anyways, especially if they've never smoked before. But I don't know that was necessary to interject all of that right here. I was just trying to talk about the process of making dabs and what they are and where they come from. I thought that's what you wanted to do, was tell people what dabs were.
This is a PSA. People need to know that the thing is that that's why the coughing starts and that's how the dance started and all that, is because it's so concentrated and people aren't ready for it. So
I understand, but I was in the middle of the process of explaining people what was going on, the process, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, interrupt that process, and here's why people cough.
I was getting bored, Steve. To be honest, I was getting really bored.
Oh, my God. You're killing me. Please don't do that. If I'm in the process of explaining something, that interrupting me will make it really difficult for me to follow my train of thought. So if I've got a train of thought going, maybe you can go, hey, speed it up. But don't try and switch the subject by going someplace else with it, because that'll just screw me up. Yes, Pauline? Are you there?
Hi.
So have you done dabs? Do you do the dabs?
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
It makes me cough so hard.
So now we're going to break. I want to ask you, and you might not be able to hear me from the music, but wait through the break. I'm going to ask. Hold on for both of you. Hold on. After the break, I want to ask Pauline if she knew because she's from the Upper Peninsula in Michigan, I believe. Yeah, she can correct me when we come back. But I want to know if she knew that the dab was a dance move as well as something you could do with a concentrate in the marijuana world. We'll be right back after these messages.
You're getting the full melt.
Your pets aren't just animals, they're members of your family. That's why we are excitedly wagging our tail about our hemp-based product that caters specifically to your best friend. Hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats, and really, all kinds of pets. Hemp oil drops are made from virgin, cold-pressed organic hemp oil. Our extraction process ensures the highest quality oil for your pet. With superior taste, smell, and nutrition, we hold ourselves to the highest standards, never using heat, chemicals, or preservatives in making our hemp oil products for pets. Pick up a bottle of Hempwell drops today at select retailers or online at hempwell.com. Hempwell, hemp health for pets.
Attention. Get ready to write down a very important number.
Michael does not know how to fail. Second place is loser.
If you have a medical marijuana case and need legal representation, call the best, attorney Michael Comorn.
He's very passionate in the courtroom.
Getting the best outcome requires quick legal action, and it needs to start with one call, toll-free to attorney Michael Comorn. 800-656-3557. Write it down, 800-656-3557.
Michael Comorn gave us our life back.
Attorney Michael Comorn. Vigorous criminal defense.
Play-Doh Compound can help kids practice communication skills. Start by presenting the visual of the letter or word. Then ask them to mold the Play-Doh Compound into the shape of the letters. It's an effective way to foster speech and even writing.
Ram trucks are reaching new heights when it comes to capability and efficiency. The Ram Heavy Duty is the most capable full-size pickup on the road today. And the Ram 1500 is the most fuel-efficient full-size pickup ever. So what does that mean? It means Ram trucks are built for the long haul. Ram, America's longest-lasting pickups.
If you missed the last Full Melt show,
you missed a lot.
Yes, sir. We are just here to get you qualified, okay, for the lower interest rates.
This is a Visa card.
Okay. It's a Visa card, starts at 4, right?
So you need. Why do you need the numbers off the card?
I was going to let you know, like, what is your new interest rate going to be and what you qualified for, okay?
Well, wouldn't it be a security risk if I was to give my card number over the phone?
Like, sure, we are the ones who send you the billing statements every month.
Aren't you really just a liar? Aren't you just lying about this? Aren't you just trying to steal my credit card number? Oh, you are, you little piece of shit. You're a little fucking liar, aren't you? You're a little foreign piece of shit, aren't you? You're a little foreign fucking puke, aren't you?
That's what you are. You fucking piece of shit.
Oh no, you get to suck my fucking American dick, you foreign piece of fucking shit. There you go. That's how you do that.
Full Melt.
RootMetrics, in the nation's largest independent study, tested wireless performance across the country. Verizon won big with 153 state wins. AT&T got 38, Sprint got 2, and T-Mobile got 0. Verizon also won first in the U.S. for data, call, speed, and reliability. AT&T got text. Stuck on an average network? Join Verizon, and we'll cover your cost to switch.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. Hey, we're back on the air Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can hear us on Spreaker at Spreaker.com, thefullmelt.com. You can also catch us over on iTunes and subscribe to our iTunes link. We're also published on Tumblr and some other places. So, listen, I've got with us on the phone somebody from the Upper Peninsula. Hello, is this who's this again? Hello?
This is Pauline.
Pauline, that's right. And, of course, now Wendy's on the line, too. Wendy, are you there? Hello?
Hi, Wendy.
Wendy must have the phone on mute or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
She's not there right now. So, I wanted to ask you, did you know that the whole dab thing was a dance? Did you know anything about there being a dance associated with dab?
No.
You didn't?
I just dab and cough. And made my ribs hurt so bad that I didn't want to do it again.
So you don't do the dab?
I don't do it anymore.
But you've done it before?
I mean, if it comes up, yeah, I might do a little itty-bitty dab.
Just a tiny one?
But it just kills my ribs. I've already got COPD, so it's not really as much of a help. But what I do, when I get shattered, I break it up, and I take a piece of it, I put it on my tongue, and I swallow it down with some water.
So you're saying you're taking the concentrate orally?
Yeah.
And that works better for you because it doesn't make your ribs hurt.
That's right.
But you're still doing just a little dab, right?
Right, a very little dab.
So that
I'm doing it in a way where it's not going to hurt my ribs.
That kind of makes sense. A lot of people do this, and I would say that the smarter way of making medibles is using dabs, melting that down after you've measured it out, melt it down in whatever fatty substance you're making their food with, and then
what I used to do, I used to make cake, chocolate cake out of stirring frost, and put actual marijuana in it, and mix it together.
Well, so you're saying you put the flour into the cake?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
We talk about getting stoned.
No, I understand. I just wouldn't necessarily recommend that method. Okay. So a lot of people that don't understand medibles, or if you've never tried a medible, there are different kinds of them. This is one of the reasons why I don't do medibles. Just for my own taste and preference, first off, I don't need oral medication in that way. The effect that it gives you, it doesn't do me any good. The thing I need it for, I can get in another way, and it's through vaporization. So I tend to do that. If I can't vaporize, I'll smoke, or sometimes I'll do both. But
what I do is I have a cooking spice. I put marijuana in it, and it's got all different kinds of other herbs in it.
Okay, so you're what you're talking about is mitigating the flavor that's added by putting the marijuana into the food.
Right.
So you're kind of masking it.
That's the same way you get a child to drink blood purifiers. You hide it with peppermint or something a real sweet herb.
Well,
like peppermint or wild cherry bark.
What you're saying is you're hiding the medicine in the food, and you're comparing it to hiding bad tasting medicine in something sweet to get a kid to take his medicine, regular medicine, not necessarily cannabis.
Right.
Right. So now, what I started to say though, Melody, is that this business with marijuana and medibles is that you mentioned a method where you're putting the flour directly in the food, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying that to me as a guy that makes food is a complete turnoff, because the flour material in the food is indeed fiber, and it's a nasty fiber. It's kind of disgusting as fiber. So I would never necessarily recommend making medibles that way unless you have to, because you don't have a choice. I say you probably got a choice.
I also have PTSD, so it works.
Well, I'm sure it does, but I'm saying a lot of people might not have the stomach for eating that, because let's just say you're making brownies and you put, whole cannabis flowers in the brownies.
No, you don't put whole cannabis.
Well, you crush them up the same way you'd go to smoke them, but so you're mixing it in there, and you've got all that interspersed within the brownie. So every time you take a bite of brownie, you're basically taking a bite of some bud somewhere. And what I'm saying is that, to me, that's disgusting. Not only is there a bad flavor, but it also gives a bad texture, a bad mouthfeel.
I put in milk and I put in extra chocolate.
I understand, but what I'm saying is that most people don't understand that if you do that, it's going to be gross. Most people wouldn't be able to eat what we're describing. So we've found, and other people have found, methods of hiding it or using it a different way. And the best way to hide that is to, number one, minimize the amount that you're putting in, and number two, use a concentrate, because you don't have all that fiber in there. You've just got what's concentrated out of it. The difference would be, the comparison would be, I'm going to make a vanilla cake. But so I've got the flour and I've got the baking powder and I've got all the stuff to make the cake with the eggs and the milk. But instead of putting in vanilla extract, I'm just going to take some vanilla beans and grind them up and throw them in there. Now, you're going to get a vanilla flavor. You're definitely going to get a vanilla flavor, but it might be way too strong, and it might taste terrible. It might overpower everything. Plus, you're going to get that grainy, fibery part from the vanilla bean and its husk that's also going to be nasty. It's going to be unpleasant, which is why they use extract. That's why they don't do that with other extracts. They use the extract. So I'm saying there's already a playbook written here. Why not take it from the baking world and use the extract of marijuana in your food instead of putting the marijuana in butter and trying to dissolve it off that way and then using the butter? Because I say that's an unsafe way of handling food unless you use it right away, because it totally destroys the shelf life of the butter. So I'm just saying, when you open up and explore this world of medibles, and and this started out as a dab show, you start exploring the world of medibles and the way that concentrates versus whole flower cannabis are used in foods, or can be the way that foods can be infused with cannabis, which is a better way of putting it. That there's a better way to do it and a non-better way to do it. And then some things are going to be more amenable to hiding the kind of overpowering, kind of maybe gagging sort of flavor that sometimes marijuana can add, even in a concentrated form, to whatever food you're making. Some things it seems to go a little more with savory things than it does with sweet things as far as hiding the taste. But I think whole flower cannabis is probably the worst way when you're that's probably the rawest way. The way that is the least forgiving in kind of hiding the fact that there's cannabis in the food, because cannabis in the food is not pleasant otherwise. In my opinion, other people might disagree. Do you see? You seem to have a rougher stomach. It seems like putting the whole flower cannabis into your cake or whatever you were making didn't bother you. Like, it was okay. There's a way to fix it because you put some extra chocolate and milk in there.
Well, I always put milk in my cakes.
Okay. All right. Well,
instead of water, it makes it moister.
Yes. So, hey, listen.
Well, what I'm saying now is, it's not for everybody.
Right.
But I enjoy it. I know quite a few people who've had some and have enjoyed it.
Well, they actually like the whole flower cannabis in the food?
Yeah.
See, I don't know anybody like that. And I also, if I'm recommending that people make food in a certain way, especially the ones that don't know, I wouldn't be telling them or recommending to them that they be making it in that way, because it's the one that's the hardest to consume, because it's the least pleasant. I think the intricacies and the love of the things that I like about food are lost when you include that kind of raw flower cannabis in the food. To me, it changes its texture, it changes its flavor, and it does it so much I might as well just eat a bag of weed. Which also some people would do. The only time you'd catch me doing that is if I had to hide it from somebody.
Oh, okay. Okay. I can go for that.
Not getting this from me, unless you want to pick it out later. All right. Well, hey, I want to thank you for the call. You said you're up there in the UP?
No, I'm in Grayling.
Oh, you're in Grayling, so you're in the Lower Peninsula.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just above Gaylord.
Well, do a dab for us.
Oh, I'll hit my bowl for you.
Okay, that's we can do that too.
All right, Steve Green.
All right, you have a great night, and we'll see you again sometime soon. I'm sure we'll bump into each other at the Cannabis Cup or something. By the way, they announced the Cannabis Cup. Did you hear that?
No.
It's going to be in early June or mid-June. I think it's June 22. I got to look it up now. I don't want to screw up the people at Cannabis Cup. Hold on. I'll tell you when it is.
All right.
Cannabis Cup. in Clio, 2017. Oops. There we go. They made the announcement. I'm just going to look it up real quick.
All right.
And it's June 24th and 25th.
All right, thanks.
So
let me write it down.
Yep, spread it around up there. Same place, Michigan Auto Speedway. There you go. Cannabis Cup is June 24th and 25th. All right. So I'm just going to bid you a Happy New Year, and we hope to see you out there.
Oh, you just might. I may have some problems, though.
Well,
transportation is a big problem all the time.
So you don't have a way to get down here is what you're saying.
Right.
So if you got down here, would you have some friends to hang out with and maybe stay for the weekend?
Maybe.
So,
I don't know. I'd have to see how my money goes.
Well, keep in touch with us, and if you need a way down to the Cannabis Cup, I'll find a way to make sure that you can get down here. We'll find you a ride down here if you can't get down, as long as you've got a place to go once you get here.
I don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You want to find a friend? Or you don't have any friends in the area?
Terry.
Terry doesn't live.
She doesn't drive.
Right,
So
but Terry also
really big.
Terry also does not live in the area where the Cannabis Cup is held. She lives in she lives a lot further north. She's closer to you.
She
Right.
she lives in West Branch.
I know. So I'm just saying, if you want to get down to the Cannabis Cup and you don't have a way, and this goes for Terry too, I guess we could just, if you're not that far apart from each other. How far do you live from Terry? Do you know?
About 37 minutes.
77?
No, 37.
Oh, okay, 37. All right. So keep in touch with us. If you guys don't have a way, I'll find a way to make sure you get down here. If you've got to figure out a way to come up and get you myself. All right, so we're going to go to break. I'm gonna get rid of this call. Thank you for calling. If you want to chime in before the end of the show, David Rudoy is coming up very shortly here. We'll come back on the other side of the break and talk to him about his important case in Michigan, heard in the Court of Appeals in Detroit today. Stand by.
You're getting the full melt.
If you missed the last Full Melt show,
you missed a lot.
In Sanilac County, the police took plants that just got cut down, took the big stalks, went and laid them out, dried them out, and then trimmed up the marijuana and put it into jars and used that against somebody in the court of law. So it's like, we're paying police officers to trim marijuana now.
They're pretend caregivers. They got on their little maid's outfits, and they got their little gloves on, and their little scissors, and they're all happy, playing with the weed.
The Full Melt Show is live 7 to 8 Eastern on thefullmelt.com.
Full Melt. Promotional consideration provided by NoSmell.com, pioneering the storage market for cannabis users. The No Smell patented bag technology offers users 100% smell-proof detection from even the most sophisticated of noses. NoSmell.com, so nobody knows. When placing your order for a No Smell bag, make sure to use discount code FULLMELT and take 10% off the entire order. Learn more about No Smell technology at NoSmell.com.
Don't stop chasing, wander while the day brings up. Here comes the sunrise, and we'll see the sunset. Coasting by the ocean with some music, turn it up. We got the whole night, 360 days of this. All I'm talking wide, the memories will make you right. That always make you smile.
Happiness is calling at sandiego.org.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
My moderate to severe chronic plaque psoriasis made a simple trip to the grocery store anything but simple. so I had an important conversation with my dermatologist about Humira. He explained that Humira works inside my body to target and help block a specific source of inflammation that contributes to my symptoms. In clinical trials, most adults taking Humira were clear or almost clear, and many saw 75% and even 90% clearance in just 4 months.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Ask about Humira, the #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists. Clearer skin is possible.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. Hey, welcome back. I wanted to remind people in the Michigan area, the THC Expo is back on. I think they're doing it back over at the Rooster Tail. They announced it for March 17th, 18th, and 19th this year. The THC Expo put on by Tom French and all those guys over there in Macomb. They do a great job, and they've got the Magic Vapor Bus, and I think there's an opportunity to there's a Snoop Dogg thing going on. We'll get the details about it later. With us on the phone, our guest for the rest of the hour, Attorney David Rudoy. Thanks for coming on the show, David. Are you there?
Hey, happy to be here.
That's awesome. Listen, you were working hard, and we talked to you before about this important case that you had a chance to argue today in the Court of Appeals. Can you tell us about the case and its significance? Because I think it's important. It's one of the standing left open questions in the courts here in Michigan about medical marijuana, and you managed to nail this one down, and I got to thank you for taking it on.
Yeah, no problem. The case that I argued today was People v. Magyari, which is Magyari. And the issue was whether a defendant who's been convicted can use his medical marijuana on probation, and under what circumstances, I guess. My argument, of course, is that if you have a medical marijuana card, you're immune, and the judge has no place to tell you whether or not you can use medical marijuana or not.
It's also my position.
And I've been arguing this issue since the Medical Marijuana Act came out. And we have a real variance from court to court. Some judges agree with me that they don't get to choose at all. Most judges in Michigan think that they can choose. Like some people, depending on the offense, depending on their criminal history and background with drugs, they can choose. They can let some people use and deny others. And a lot of judges really make people jump through hoops. Like they want you to bring in a letter from your doctor, and they want to see medical records, and a real invasion of your privacy just to be able to use your preferred medicine. And then there's another group of judges that think they can say that it's a violation of federal law and that they're allowed to restrict you from breaking federal law, and therefore don't let anybody use marijuana on probation.
Well, wasn't that the
I've gotten a lot of judges to go and allow my clients to use, but there's those few judges that say no, even if somebody has like epilepsy or one of these conditions that everybody agrees marijuana helps with and is probably a safer alternative. And there's these judges that say, go ahead and use Vicodin. So that's the case. And what if I win the way I believe, knock on wood, that I will, it's going to take away the judge's ability or discretion to say no. And that means even if you were placed on probation and then go get your medical marijuana card, you would be immune for that, and the judge would no longer be able to tell you you can't use your medical marijuana. This affects sick people across the state of Michigan that are being drug tested on, even for, offenses that have nothing to do with drugs or alcohol. So it's definitely a really big deal. And the argument today went about as well as it could. I know when to shut my mouth when I'm winning.
Right.
And that was the feeling that I got. I was about 5 minutes into my argument today, and the judge kind of gave me the wink-wink. Judge Kavanaugh gave me like a wink-wink. Maybe you want to reserve the rest of your time for rebuttal. And then the prosecutor basically got up there and talked for 30 seconds, had no arguments that conflict, that would beat the arguments that I made. And I got back up for rebuttal, and I tried to get into some stuff, and the judge just said, I think you've made all your points, basically like sit down, you're done. And, the one judge, Judge Kelly, gave me a little bit of, she asked, well, do you think there's any situation where a judge has the discretion to tell somebody they can't? And I said, no, I don't think so. I think only if the marijuana use is outside of the confines of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, then you can get violated. But they have to have evidence that you're using it outside of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. It doesn't mean they can't drug test you. They can still drug test you. And the judge kind of said to me, well, I think that's a really tough argument because I'm basically taking authority away from judges. But the other two judges, Judge Kavanaugh definitely seemed on my side. Judge Boonstra was pretty silent, but I feel like in past cases where I've lost my appeal, the judges have really tried to attack my arguments. And here the judges had absolutely no way to attack my arguments. My logic is pretty clear and flawless and supported by the Arizona Supreme Court. So I'm feeling very good. Cautious, still being cautious, not celebrating yet, but I'm feeling good about this one.
I'm celebrating just the fact that you got this there and were able to make this argument and that they were going to be able to hear it. Because so many of these issues people don't pursue with a lawyer or far enough to where they could have a standing to make this case. And
here's the other real problem is it took me 18 months to get here. And most probation terms are not 18 months long. So if my client's only on probation for 12 months, I would have never had the chance to get this appeal heard because it would have been moot is the legal term, which means not relevant anymore, essentially, by the time the Court of Appeals would have gotten it.
Essentially,
the Court of Appeals is kind of too slow for this issue, and luckily this case got heard quickly enough.
Well,
nick of time.
So what essentially happens is the court process outlasts the thing you're complaining about, and then you lose your standing before the court. So they're like, whether you win or lose, your probation's already over with. It doesn't matter. Go away.
Exactly.
It does, though, matter, doesn't it? It matters for everybody that's on that probation for a year, 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is that your sentence or the conditions allowed for that length of probation to be. It matters to them, very much so.
I mean, yeah, every day I get calls from people that are basically freaking out because their judge in their county is not letting them use their medicine and telling them to go ahead and use opiates or other drugs, other prescription drugs that are extremely harmful with all sorts of side effects. I have one client in Oakland County who's epileptic. He suffered from alcoholism for many years, and his kidneys are basically shot. And the epilepsy drugs that he would take instead of marijuana oil are going to kill him.
Well, because they would affect his kidneys in a negative way that they can't withstand.
Exactly. And the judge doesn't give a shit. Told him to go ahead and take those drugs. Take the drugs that would kill him.
Go ahead and
not use cannabis because it's a cannabis-related offense.
Isn't that practicing medicine from the bench?
Yeah, which is practicing medicine without a license, although we'll never get the court to agree with that argument because it would subject the judges to potential penalties, and judges won't make a rule that will hurt other judges. But it is, and it's also, an unlawful invasion of privacy, invasion of informed consent. But really our best argument is the simple immunity, and that a condition of probation cannot violate Michigan law, and a condition that says you can't use medical marijuana on probation simply violates the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act.
Now, what about the argument, because it's the argument that I had the hardest hurdle to overcome in my tussle with this law and this issue. And we can get to that if you want, but or not. But in my instance, it didn't seem like the judge much cared about my medical marijuana card. It never got to the judge because I told the prosecutor, because I had a misdemeanor charge, and I just told him, look, I'll go ahead and just plead to your misdemeanor charge and save you the trouble as long as during the term of probation that I'm on, I'm allowed to use medical marijuana because I'm going to test dirty every single time regardless. You might as well just throw me in jail now. So he just caved in and made the agreement with me. If it had gotten to the judge, I don't know that I've gotten her cooperation on it.
And you very likely wouldn't. I mean, the problem is that every judge views this differently. And for a long time, most of the judges were saying, well, the Probation Act says that we are to restrict you from breaking both federal and state law.
Correct. That's the argument that I had to. That's the hardest argument that I had to overcome.
The problem is that the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act happens to supersede the Probation Act and any law that's in conflict with it, as well as the fact that, state courts don't have authority to enforce federal law and aren't a court of federal jurisdiction. There's a lot of problems with that argument. But judges all over the place have different theories. Kent County, don't let you use ever. Oakland County, maybe half the judges do, half the judges don't. Washtenaw County, almost every judge will allow you to use it, probably 90%. So it's just this big disparity in how people are treated. And I know it drives my clients crazy when a judge says no. And I've been really anticipating getting this argument and hopefully getting a good opinion from the Court of Appeals, because I have some clients that are this is life or death for them. It's not just alleviating a little bit of pain.
Right.
This is really, marijuana is the medicine that helps them and that they found. And without it, their life is threatened.
Well, I think
various different diseases.
I think the bigger picture that people tend to escape, this fact tends to escape most casual listeners about this subject, is that these people are already people with chronic medical conditions. These people are already in a world of physical hurt one way or another medically, and need something, and have only been able to resort to marijuana because it's the option of last resort. And so they're there. They're there with this option of last resort, and then you end up in a situation where you're on probation, and now they say, and no marijuana, and then you go, and your jaw drops. Because that's the last resort. What are you going to tell me? I have no last resort now? That this thing that I'm charged with, that I'm now on probation for, now I have no last resort as a result of this? That's what they're saying.
Yeah, and a lot of these sick people that will probably die if they go to jail, and they're subjected to the treatment in jail,
right,
have to make this decision between going to jail,
right,
or or going without their medicine. And those are their two choices. Either I go without my medicine or I go to jail where I'll probably die. And it's a really dire. I'm glad we finally were able to get this argued.
Yes, I am glad too, because it's one that's been lingering for a while, and for the reason that you just mentioned, nobody can survive the term of probation. But by the time they get to the Court of Appeals, their term expires, and they've already paid to get that far, and no result, because you can't do it now. Now,
yep, exactly.
The other thing is that you had mentioned before is that some judges would say, oh, I want you to bring your medical card in, and I want you to bring a doctor's note, and I want you to... So basically, they ask you for all the documentation that you needed to supply to the state in order to get the card in the first place, aren't they?
Yeah, they don't trust the state, and they don't trust the doctor. Or they'll want to say, I want a letter from the doctor saying why marijuana is your only option, why you can't take other drugs. Which is ridiculous because they're inserting themselves. It's about what the best option is according to the doctor. The judge has no place deciding what option they should use. And the other thing that I've run into is a lot of judges say, I'll let them use, but only if I get a letter from a treating physician, not a medical marijuana doctor. And the problem is a lot of places in the state, you can't find a treating physician who's going to certify somebody for marijuana because they're afraid to. And we have to rely on the doctors that do the certification.
Well, and who is the judge to insert himself inside the Medical Marijuana Act and decide to further, divide a category, which is a medical doctor signing a certificate that says you've got a qualifying condition, and say, no, I don't want this doctor, I want that doctor? I mean,
it's completely ridiculous, and it really usurps the authority of Lara, who's licensing these doctors. As long as the doctor is a licensed physician, it's not for the judge to decide that, the medical marijuana doctors that work at certification clinics are all like bullshit doctors. That's what the judges think, but they don't have the authority to take away the license to practice medicine from those doctors. As long as those doctors are licensed to practice medicine, they have the right to do this. And that card alone stands on its own.
Well, and that's what I was going to just ask you, because it seems like when you get another form of issued license or permission from the state, in this case it's permission to have immunity from a certain legal activity, certain illegal activity, which is really all it is, isn't it, David? It's just immunity from certain illegal acts. That's what that card means, right? So once they've given you permission for that,
it gets you a presumption of medical use and some other stuff too. But yeah, mainly it's immunity. That's what it gets you.
So now you've got this immunity that's that the state has issued you a card for. In all other instances, say instance of a driver's license, or in the instance of some other license or permit from the state, that once you've been given this permission, unless it's revoked or otherwise restricted, that it would have the presumption of validity. Like, it couldn't be questioned further because it's already valid on its face. Your driver's license.
Exactly.
So
exactly. And these judges think they have the right to question, to believe that Lara's not doing their job or something like that in issuing these cards. But they don't question whether Lara's doing their job when they license doctors to operate on people.
Right.
So Lara's the same organization that licenses a doctor to do brain surgery, and they trust them to license those doctors, but they don't trust them to license people to use medical marijuana, a drug that has never killed anybody in its existence.
If this court rules in your favor, how binding is the effect of that ruling? Is it binding across the state then?
If it is published, it is binding across the state. And you better believe that I will be, if it's not published already, I will be filing a motion for it to be published. It very clearly is unsettled law and should be published under the rules. And then it would be binding across the state. And even if the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office appeals me up to the Supreme Court, until the Supreme Court reverses the Court of Appeals, it will continue to be binding on everybody who's on probation.
So that's the way to lock it down. I want to know, do you, in your opinion, in your estimation, because it is in mine, I'll share that with you, that aren't these police, prosecutors, judges, aren't they afraid if this kind of a ruling goes in a different direction that they'll lose much of the grasp they have on people in the prohibition market when it comes to probation, when it comes to making money in that place? Because isn't there a profit mill happening there in that insertion?
100%. And I think that a lot of judges are clinging to their ability to tell people what they can do on probation and continue drug testing them. There's for sure a profit motive. We know that these drug testing companies are funding these judicial campaigns. You go to other states, it's not like this. I was trying to find a place for my client to test in Wisconsin when they were traveling there. Wisconsin doesn't even offer drug testing on weekends at all. You can't do it. You can't find it. There are alcohol testing and drug testing on weekends, like these jams and these similar type places around Michigan. And it's turned into this odd thing here in Michigan where there's so much money being made. I can't even think about how much money is being made off forcing people to drug test under threat of jailing them, to take their money under threat of jail, and especially for all sorts of offenses that don't even have to do with drugs. Well, somebody gets a domestic violence case, they're drug testing for 2 years, all sorts of cases, driving without a license. some judges put people on drug testing for that. And why are they doing that? How does that serve society? Well, I think it serves only one specific portion of society, which is the drug testing agencies. So, it's a real problem. This is a big step for medical marijuana patients, but a very small step in fighting that whole issue.
Now, there was a last question that I had with regards to the effect on parolees or bond conditions. Would this ruling have an effect on those two other similar conditions? Or is it strictly regarding probation?
Yeah, I think 100% this would extend to both bond and parole, both of which, because the logic is the same. Bond, parole, and probation are all privileges. Revocation of privileges is a penalty. The Michigan Medical Marijuana Act says you're immune from all penalties in any manner. So I think it's very clear that it would extend to bond and parole as well, because the logic is exactly the same.
Well, I look forward to the day where, some of this power play that's put on people in the cannabis community, especially the medical cannabis community, the one who can least afford this argument, that power play gets taken away from judges because it's misused here in this state on a daily basis to the detriment of many. And so I thank you, David, for doing that. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about this before we get off the air?
No, just everybody that's listening, keep your fingers crossed, keep your thoughts positive. This is I can't say how important it is to me, and I know it's even more important to, thousands of sick people across the state of Michigan that need their medicine. So let's hope that the Court of Appeals does the right thing here. I can promise you if they don't, I'll be appealing to the Supreme Court. But let's hope they come out the right way now.
Really quickly before we get out of here, I wanted to ask you this a little by the by. It used to be that any kind of drug offense gave you an immediate license suspension. So they would immediately suspend your license if you were just walking down the street with a joint and you got caught with it. Still
the law?
Did they rule? They rule against that now? Is it different now?
Nope, that's still the law.
It's still the law.
You got a possession of marijuana walking down the street, your license gets suspended for 6 months with a 30-day mandatory suspension, which is insane. It's not talked about enough how crazy that is.
David Rudoy at RudoyLaw.com, thank you very much for calling in tonight and telling us about this awesome case. And good luck with that result because we need it.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.